Welcome to IELTS preparation course, video number 7, titled General Training, Writing Section, Task 1, Writing a Letter. Moving on to Task 1, Writing a Letter. It's 20 minutes long. The instructions in the task will describe a situation and tell you exactly whom to write to. This is followed by 3 key points which help you organize the content of your letter. You have to write not less than 150 words. It is correspondence or communication in the form of a letter or an email. The letter may be formal or informal. The letter consists of 5 main parts. They are: number 1, greeting; number 2, purpose of writing; number 3, details; number 4, request; number 5, sign off. Moving on to the structure of a letter, which consists of 3 main points: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Let's get started with the first point, which is the introduction. And in the introduction, you have 3 things to do. Number 1, start greeting the recipient using the word dear and then mention the name of the recipient. Number 2, introduce yourself using I am and then mention your name, or my name is and then mention your name. And this is with a formal letter. Number 3, mention the purpose of your letter in 2 to 3 sentences. Moving on to the second part of the structure, which is the body, from 8 to 10 sentences. And here you have 2 things to do. Number 1, give clear explanation answering the questions given to you. Number 2, focus on 1 or 2 ideas and give lots of details. Moving on to the third point, which is the conclusion, from 2 to 3 sentences. And here you have 2 things to do. Number 1, summarize your letter and engage your reader or attract or draw their attention. Number 2, request the reader to respond with answers in case you ask for their help or information. Moving on to types of letters. Number 1, formal letters. They are for official or commercial situations. They are also for people you don't know well or you have never met them before. Number 2, informal letters. They are for friends or relatives. Moving on to the format of a formal letter. If you know the name of the person, the letter will be at the following. For example, you can start with Dear Mr. Albert, Dear Dr. Johnson, Dear Miss Emma, Dear Mrs. Stephanie. Moving on to the body of the letter, and then moving on to the conclusion of the letter. After that, you can sign off using yours faithfully, yours sincerely, best regards, best wishes, and then mention the sender name, which is your name. If you don't know the name of the person, the letter will be at the following. For example, Dear Sir or Madam, Dear Sirs, Dear All, Dear Management, and then move on to the content of your letter. And after that, you can sign off using yours faithfully or yours sincerely, and then mention the sender name, which is your name. Moving on to the format of an informal letter. For example, you can start with Dear plus the name of the recipient, Moving on to the content of your letter, and after that you can sign off using love, with love, lots of love, goodbye, see you, and then mention the sender name, which is your name. Moving on to the structure or format of the informal letter in more details. For example, suppose that you are going to send a letter to your friend Tom, and in the first place, you should know the 4 main points of the informal letter. Point number 1, the introduction, and it's the opening of the letter and should start with "How are you?" or "How are things?" In the introduction, you can thank the recipient for their previous letter. You can also apologize if you see that you replied late. Moving on to point number 2, which is the body. Write the content of your message in several paragraphs so that the reader can read it easily. Moving on to point number 3, which is closure or conclusion. It indicates that you are going to end your letter. Also, you can ask them to respond. Moving on to point number 4, which is the complementary clause. You can sign off with a short expression followed by a comma and then write your name below. You can sign off using lots of love, see you, goodbye, with love, and then mention the sender name, which is your name. And here we have some notes to consider with formal and informal letters. Number 1, there is no need to add neither an address nor a date in the top right of the letter. Number 2, when signing off, you can mention your real name or an imaginary name. Number 3, it is not necessary to indent the first line in the introduction. Number 4, put or leave a space between paragraphs. Moving on to how to begin an informal letter, you can use "How are you?" "How's it going?" "I hope you are well." "I hope all is fine with you." "It has been a long time since we saw each other." "I'm apologizing for not writing for so long. I have been really busy." "It was nice to receive your letter or email." Moving on to how to end an informal letter, you can use "I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon." "Write to me soon." "Write back soon." "Bye for now." "Take care." "Hope to hear from you soon." Anyway, that's all for now. Moving on to how to begin a formal letter, you can use "I am writing with regard to" or "in connection with." "I am writing regarding" or "concerning." "I would like to express my concern about." "I'm a resident of" and "I would like to draw your attention to." "I wish to make a complaint against." "I would like to complain about." "I'm writing in the hope that." "I would like to express my disappointment or dissatisfaction with." Moving on to how to end a formal letter, you can use "Thank you so much for your attention or interest." "Thank you for taking the time to read or consider my letter." "I hope the situation will be resolved or solved soon." "Please feel free to get back to me for any further inquiries, assistance, or information." "I hope you reply to my letter or request at your earliest convenience or when the time is convenient for you," or that. "I would appreciate if you reply to me at your most convenient time. Here is an example of a General Training Writing Task 1 for writing an informal letter. The task says, last year you went on a camping tour with your family. A friend contacted you about the tour and asked you whether you would recommend it. Write a letter to your friend about the trip. In your letter, say where you went and how you traveled. Describe the place and the accommodation. Suggest why he or she should go on this holiday. Write at least 150 words. And now you can have a look at the letter and see how it is written, how it is organized, and how the 3 key points required in the task are covered. In addition, try to focus on the 5 elements, which are the greeting, the purpose of writing, the details, the request, and the sign-off. Here is another example of General Training Writing Task 1 for writing a formal letter. The task says, an old car left on the street near your apartment block several weeks ago. You telephoned the local council to get them to take it away, but nothing has been done about it. The car is now causing a problem for residents. Write a letter to the council. In your letter, describe the car, outline the problems it is causing, tell the council what you want them to do. Write not less than 150 words. And now you can have a look at the letter and see how it is written, how it is organized, and how the 3 key points required in the task are covered. In addition, try to focus on the 5 elements, which are number 1, the greeting, number 2, the purpose of writing, number 3, the details, number 4, the request, number 5, the sign-off.